Hello, Hemant. Thanks for joining the Road Trip Show. It's great to have you as one of our first guests. And I know that you have great experience at companies like Microsoft, ClickUp, and all. And I'm sure this episode will be helpful for a lot of product folks. And I'm excited about your answers today because I prepared some tough questions. Before diving into those tough questions, let's get started with an easy one. And tell us about yourself. Who is Samant?
Awesome. No, thank you so much for having me there, Merve. I'm Hemant. I am the director of product at ClickUp right now and currently lead some of the core product areas here. I'm thrilled to be here on this podcast today. Um, I would say Hemant is a builder. I love the craft of envisioning things and building and getting them in front of customers. What really motivates me in product management is just like talking to customers, talking to people in person, and if they're using the product that I'm building or working on, I think that's like the biggest gratification and motivation for me. So yes, I call myself a builder. I've been in product management for, I would say, the last 12 years. The first 3 years I started as a engineer, and then I've been in product management throughout. I've had the great opportunity to work in different areas. So I started my career with search engine, like at Microsoft, which is Bing Search, and then I moved on to e-commerce platform and payment stack, and then I worked in a small startup back in India, which was around the messenger space, and then I slowly moved from B2C to B2B and was working on the productivity space with Microsoft Teams. Also had a brief stint in the advertising space, and now finally I'm at ClickUp. So yeah, I've had like a great. I've been very fortunate to work on different product areas, and yeah, I'm loving it so far.
Great, great. Let's warm up to understand the basics. How is the ClickUp product organization structured? Is it around products, outcomes, or anything else? And the second part of the questions, what do you think challenges and benefits of this structure?
The ClickUp product organization, I would say, is majorly centered around product areas. We call them squads. For example, we have a squad for notifications. We think notifications is a very important driver. So we have a squad for that, and there's a PM working on it, and then there are a bunch of engineers on it as well. And similarly, we have multiple such squads. However, like in ClickUp, we're fairly flexible. So we at any point we have PMs running certain outcome driven approaches as well. For example, if we feel that hey, um, we have high churn in the system, then there would be a PM just uh, working on reducing churn and working across different product areas. Or if we think that hey, we need to get ready for certain enterprise readiness, or excuse me, or just maybe improving performance on certain product areas as well. So we can have a PM just driving that initiative as well. So there are no rules, I would say, in ClickUp. It's very dynamic, but mostly I would say that it's centered around um, product areas. That's how the structure is.
Great. So everything has, its own unique rituals and all. What would you say is unique for ClickUp product team?
ClickUp product team, what's unique? I think there are multiple things that I can think of. One thing that really stands out for me, based on my experience so far, I think, is um, the quality of PMs and the passion they have. I think passion is what stands out for me. Passion for the product, passion for the mission. I think it's like mind boggling to see how our PMs like it's a very small team. It's like maybe 10 odd PMs who are driving the entire ClickUp product area. And you would be very surprised to know that a lot of these PMs out of 10, are homegrown. It's their first PM job. They had been community managers in ClickUp. They had been in product operations. They had been in customer support. So we are like very flexible. We don't go by resumes. We go by passion, we go by intent, we go by hunger. And these guys, these folks were like very customer centric. They were always operating on ground zero, and they were very passionate about the mission, and the product. So that's, I think, is something which is common. And I'm completely blown away by the DNA of the product org. Yeah.
That's great. Like I work for like previously I worked for startups and saw them being scale up, and they also have some internal talents. They become like very in the like very top positions, but time to time it's necessary to bring some talent outside the company. And like it's what's happened to ClickUp is really dream for most startups. We also dream of that. Like we have a small talented team. We also dreaming of making those people at the very good places in our startup. And that's great to see that it's possible, like some huge corporate, like startup like ClickUp. So considering ClickUp's famous motto, one app to replace them all, there must be endless features and improvements that can be done. How does the product team decide what to focus on next? Are there any frameworks or methodologies you lean on?
A great question. It is tough given our vision and mission is like is grand. I would say it's more art than science. We don't being very dynamic, like I said earlier. We don't have fancy frameworks or massive planning exercises. We are a very lean company, and we keep processes to a minimum. As a philosophy, I would say we believe in a long-term strategy rather than a long-term roadmap. And coming to your point on prioritization, given we have so many things to work on, I think the single most important thing I think would be customer feedback and data. So all, like I said, all PMs operate on ground zero. There are no hierarchies. Everyone is engaging with customers, so they really understand the pain points. They're very customer centric, and I think that really helps in prioritization to like cut the noise and create patterns on what we should build. So that's, I think, the one of the big drivers. The second thing I can think about is just alignment with company goals. I think that's where our leadership team does a great job in terms of highlighting what are like the strategic goals, what we want to achieve. Let's say in an annual target, and then all the product folks look at those, evaluate, and work backwards as well from that. So we're also like recently we started experimenting with monthly priorities, uh, which would like give a very clear direction to the product org in terms of, hey, what we should focus on and how we can. These are like very good input drivers to help achieve the annual goals. So I would say customer feedback and just alignment with company goals would be how we like cut the noise as the two most important factors according to me. Yeah.
Great. So that's amazing to see, like, 10 product people at a 1,000 employee size company doing things still that lean when it comes to, prioritization, because there are like lots of fancy frameworks out there. And at the end of the day, it's art, as you said. So
Yeah,
ClickUp.
it's very difficult to. I mean, people do use some frameworks, but it's very difficult to pinpoint on one. And yeah, I think finally there are so many factors that go into prioritization. It's very difficult to. It's more of a art than science for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And ClickUp is also known for its fast shipping culture. Like we get lots of product updates, and you feel the fast shipping as a user as well. So how do product teams at ClickUp manage the communications of lots of new features without overwhelming users? What's the product communication strategy be like?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question as well. I think ClickUp is a rocket ship, and like we ship a lot of stuff every week, and we really strive hard uh, to communicate to users without overwhelming them. I think that's a constant challenge, I would say, because there are so many things that get shipped every week. Some of the things that I can think top of my mind are the in-app guides that we use. So they're very contextual. So if a user, for example, is using, let's say, our dashboard product area, then any improvements on the dashboard features would only go to users who are using and are in context. So that kind of cuts the noise, like to a certain degree. We have guardrails and business logic which talks about, hey, a customer should not get more than X notifications in Y number of days. So that helps as well. We also give a lot of focus and craft into our weekly notes, release notes, and help articles. You'll be surprised to see the quality of our like help articles. They're really well articulated, and kudos to our content and release management team. So to again cut the noise and just communicate the right message to users, we classify, for example, some releases as silent releases, where we think that, hey, we don't need to inform the users and they would discover things serendipitously. What else? Yeah, for some of the very small things, we also adopt a strategy to batch things together rather than just pushing it to users in a piecemeal approach, again to cut the noise. So for example, we would maybe host a webinar talking about all the small improvements we have done in the last 2 months, rather than releasing every week and talking about this to customers. And our GTM team is like fantastic. I would say, like, we very closely work with the GTM team, and they help us get some of these things rolled out to customers. I don't know if you've heard about the ClickUp University videos, but these are educational videos on all the new content, new features we build. I think that really helps as well. So yeah, these are some of the things I can think top of my mind.
Yeah, like when it comes to content, ClickUp is, one of the kings of it because like they're like university, help center and everything. Like I'm sure that like no one at ClickUp support team is answering a question twice because there is a document for everything, and that's great.
Exactly.
And ClickUp also has been one of the frontiers of product-led growth. And when I read something about PLG, there is, PLG companies like ClickUp, Figma, and Miro, and if ClickUp is always on the sentence. So, and of course, PLG motion needs to go hand in hand with the product decisions. How does having a product led growth model influence the decisions and priorities you set in the product roadmap?
Yeah, I think the core of company is PLG. The product itself becomes a driver for acquisition, retention, and expansion. Um, so, like, I think things like user onboarding, NUX, what we call new user experiences, viral loops around sharing, I think they become very critical in PLG motion. And we have, again, we talked about it earlier, like we have outcome based squads, and like there are PMs specifically just working on improving the conversion funnels to get the PLG motion even better. I think the kind of PMs we have, who are very super user centric, I think that really helps in getting the user value to the end customer as soon as possible, and help in the funnel improvements. So that's there. User feedback is a primary driver for roadmap decisions. So I think that's a critical part as well. So we would change our roadmap based on user feedback. We are like very iterative, and depending on user feedback, priorities would change. So yeah, I would say this is how we operate as a company today.
Great. So, so how do you determine when it's, time to refine an existing feature versus introducing an entirely new one?
I think it's a constant struggle, to be honest, and it's in any company, not specific to ClickUp. Should I work on a V2 or should I work on a fancy new feature? That's yeah, that's part of the job, and it's a constant struggle. And a lot of PMs, I would say, end up building new things as well. I mean, which is okay. There are many factors. I would say it is context dependent on what decision you make. Like, what have you shipped today? Does it meet the desired outcome? I think that's a question you need to think about. How is the customer feedback on what you shipped? Like, is it like great? Is it like 5 on 5? Is it 4 on 5? Is it like 3 on 5? So if it's, let's say, 4 on 5, you as a company, would you say that, hey, let's we are good with it and let's move on to the next feature, or you want to make it like a 5 on 5 or a 4.5 on 5 as well? So it depends on the company culture, the context, the outcomes you've achieved with the MVP version. In ClickUp, I would say one of the core values we have is grow 1% every day. This is about iterating and making progress towards perfection. So to give you like a simple example, let's say you have a model, let's say a setting model, and the PM wants to introduce a new setting in the model. So then, if there is an opportunity to improve, like, let's say, the model UX itself, then we strongly encourage the PM to do that as well. And that's how we iterate and work on some of the V2s and V3s as well, even if we start on new features. And that core value really helps, and that is something we keep on emphasizing to every PM, every person in ClickUp, and that really compounds. If you keep on incrementally adding this value, I think that really compounds at the end.
Great. So I have another questions about a sunsetting a feature. So it's also one of the things that, one of the challenges of all-in-one products. To keep it lean and simple, you need to sunset features sometimes. So how do you make those decisions?
That's a good question. So I mean, based on experience, like, when you think about like a roadmap, or when you think about what next to build, we also tend to focus on, hey, can we simplify things, and what things are not working out, and what to cut as well. So apart from like a feature build list, there is always a feature cut list as well. um, this does not come naturally to every PM, and in every company, but we off and on kind of think about, hey, are some of the features that we shipped working or not? Should we ice them? Should we hide them behind a setting so that it's not confusing for the user if we think that they're not like being used enough, or should we just completely sunset them? So those kind of conversations happen, and yeah, that's where we are at right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So, can you share a time when user behavior data significantly shifted or refined your product strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are many instances. ClickUp is again like very dynamic. So, one very recent example I can talk about is we noticed that users were creating private lists in ClickUp to manage their day-to-day work. So, for example, I myself, when I joined, created something called Hemant's Priorities to just add things that are in my priority list. But the question that people get stuck at when they create such lists is, hey, where should I map this list to? Should it be under a team folder? Should it be under a project folder? And people were like getting confused in that direction on how to create this list, where should this list be? And they struggled with this. It created friction. When we did user interviews, we saw that drop off there because they were not sure how to manage this one. And even like for existing workspaces, when a new user would join that workspace, they were not sure whether how to get started with their work. So we noticed this user behavior, and the step we took was we created like a my list or a personal list that it was location agnostic. So you can just create a task and it would just go to your list, and it doesn't have to be mapped to a location. So it's literally like in a physical world, you have a notebook and you just start scribbling notes in that notebook rather than worrying about, hey, which page should I write my note on. So that's what we kind of mimicked in this my list personal list feature, which we're shipping very soon to users.
Great, great, great example. So, before wrapping up our conversation, would you like to, give advices to product folks that want to, step up the ladders of product management? And what would you, tell yourself if you were them? Like, I think it was a complex question, but
No,
you know
no,
the
yes,
question.
absolutely. Mm, I would say that create your unique identity. In like every PM has their strength, weakness. For example, someone could be a great in UX and visual designs. Someone could be really good at customer data, being customer centric, or maybe in data analysis. So have a unique identity that really helps as you go through the ladders, because people would kind of recognize you and attribute you with that unique identity. So have your strength, know your strength, keep on leveraging that, whatever it is. Be very customer centric always. I think without that, I don't think you'll ever be successful as a great PM. You will never build successful or great products. Um, yeah, and the last thing I would say is um, just like be aligned, keep on learning, be aligned with the company strategy, because even if you build something but it's not aligning with the company strategy, I think it may not help company fulfill the business needs. So I think you need to have that strategic vision. You need to be very customer centric, and if you build on your strengths and have a unique identity of your own, I think that would really, you should be sorted. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your great answers and, advices for folks listening us. And thank you for coming today, joining us. I really enjoyed it. And thank you everyone for listening. And we have amazing guests lined up for the upcoming episodes. And see you all next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.